Welcome to the Story of Liberty. Today, April 29th, we remember Joan of Arc. In 1429, she led France to victory over the English. She's a national hero of France and a Roman Catholic saint. Her birthplace is now a museum. She was born in an isolated patch of Eastern Europe, and when she was young, several local raids occurred during her young childhood, and on one occasion her village was burned. Joan must have been hurt and very concerned deeply to see her family and friends hurt or even killed and their homes burned. At the age of 16, she inquired to visit a royal French court, but they turned her down. But Joan was very persistent. She eventually gained support and had a meeting. And at this meeting, she made a remarkable prediction about a military reversal at Orleans. She's nicknamed the Maid of Orleans, and she arrived on that siege on Orleans on this day in 1429. She was a very brave young woman, and she journeyed through the hostile Burgundian territory in a male disguise. She arrived at the royal court, and she impressed Charles VII during a meeting. Joan asked for permission to travel with the army and wear the equipment of a knight. She depended on donated items for her armor and horse. It's amazing to think that a regime as France was near collapse, one humiliating defeat after another. To think that Charles VII would grant Joan's request to be equipped for war and actually be placed at the head of his army is amazing. The regime, the king, had to be desperate to pay any attention to an unknown farm girl who claimed that the voice of God himself was instructing her to take charge of her country's army and lead it to victory. Of course, this was done not without risk. They checked out her background, theological examination to verify her morality. And the commission declared her to be irreproachable, a good Christian woman, possessed of virtues of humility, honesty, and simplicity. She was not a feminist. She was simply a virtuous woman. They declared the test for the truth of her claims would be in the victory of the siege of Orleans. Think of it, my friends. A peasant girl born in an obscure village saying to a king that God has told me to lead your army. The truth is that she did. And several important victories were won during that 100 Years' War. It's a sad ending because she was captured by her enemies, and on one occasion jumping from her 70-foot tower to the soft earth on a dry moat, she was caught, and the government in England eventually purchased her and brought her to trial. At trial, this transcript reveals the most famous exchange. Asked if she knew she was in God's grace, Joan of Arc answered, "If I am not, may God put me there. If I am, may God so keep me." Those that were interrogating her were stupefied. Joan of Arc was no illiterate young girl. She was a woman of wisdom. Well, To make a long story short, she is burned at the stake and found guilty. But years later, another trial was taken to investigate whether the trial of condemnation and execution and its verdict had been handled justly and according to canon law. A panel of theologians analyzed testimony from 115 witnesses. They came to the conclusion that Joan of Arc was innocent. Joan of Arc was a martyr. The appellate court declared her innocent. Eventually canonized a saint, Joan of Arc.